Welcome back to Nest Nomad and Beyond, and in today's video we are going to be looking at how we coped with a 24-degree temperature swing when camping on the same trip.
And we're going to be looking at whether a portable air conditioning unit actually works in a van and a fabric awning.
So for those of you that don't know, we have our Volkswagen T6 campervan, and alongside that our Vango Galley CC2 low awning. The two work beautifully together. Last summer we actually did a trip over to Europe. We went down to Lake Garda in Italy and then also to the Swiss Alps. Very, very different in the temperature stakes.
Yeah, so in the Swiss Alps it got down to about 6 degrees overnight, which is a little bit chilly. And in Lake Garda it didn't really drop below the kind of low 20s. So what better way to find out whether the EcoFlow Wave free air conditioning unit actually works? Does it do what it says it does? And
we should point out that we spent most of that trip sleeping in our awning rather than our van. It was a real acid test to find out if the EcoFlow could really do its job and keep us cool in a tent, essentially, and also warm in a tent.
What is the EcoFlow Wave free? It's basically a portable air conditioning unit which can run on mains power, but it can also go completely off grid. So it can run on the EcoFlow Wave free battery, which connects beautifully up with all the EcoFlow family. So you can run it from solar, you can run it on external power unit, a portable power unit, however you want. This thing works, and it can run up to 8 hours on the battery, which is pretty incredible for something that kicks out a really high output of cooling power.
I mean, for us on this particular trip, we were able to actually use mains hookup. Two very, very different locations, very, very different climates. We're talking about a 24-degree swing within the same trip. And you know, I don't care how good you are at packing, that is a pretty tall order. And so, you know, having the Eco 3 alongside us for this trip really made the difference between us, you know, feeling comfortable and enjoying ourselves and, you know, potentially maybe being a little bit grumpy at times. Stop number one on our trip last summer was Interlaken in Switzerland, and it was everything you would expect it to be. Summer in the Alps. It was beautiful sometimes and it was downright cold and rainy at other times. And actually the EcoFlow really surprised us.
The EcoFlow Wave free kicked out a really nice dry heat, and it did keep us nice and cozy, didn't it?
Yeah.
It was really lovely. But the one thing we learned, where it's kicking out that dry heat, it's sucking in the moisture. And where does that moisture go? It has a drain pipe on the back. But if you haven't got a good tilt on the EcoFlow, that drain pipe doesn't quite drain properly and it leaks. It has to be at the right axis for the water to drain out. So you have to keep it at around a 15-degree tilt. We did that by using a bit of kindling from our fire, putting it on the front and tilting it so we had a nice runoff so the water could flow out of the tent and not pool in the tent, which is what happened to us.
Yeah, and to be fair, this is not an EcoFlow criticism at all, so much as a rookie mistake from our side. Ultimately, it's very clear in the instructions. There are, you know, setup videos that you can watch. It's ultimately laid out for you what you should be doing in terms of how you should set up the system, and we just didn't do it. We just kind of stuck it in there and pushed go, and we didn't really, you know, kind of set it up at all as we should have done. So yeah, big tick for the heating system as it worked in Switzerland. It absolutely did its job, kept us toasty and warm, and we were all snug as a bug watching our movies when it was raining and cold outside. On to our second location, which is Lake Garda down in Italy. It was a stunning spot. It's the first time we'd ever been and we absolutely loved it, but it was as hot as we anticipated it would be. But the EcoFlow genuinely really did make light work of it. I think for us, it's really that early morning bit. Anybody that's been in a tent in any kind of real hot conditions with the sun blaring on a canvas structure, waking up early morning, knows that is not a pleasant experience. You're kind of there in your sleeping bag and it is just a stifling feeling.
Yeah, it hits you really quickly, and I think what the EcoFlow Wave 3 did really well, it took the edge off. It's not going to make it, you know, kind of 16 degrees and really chilly. It's going to reduce that temperature, which makes a massive difference when you're waking up in the morning and it's cool and you can just take your time getting ready. There's no rushing around trying to get out of the hot tent. You can really beat your own pace, which you want to be when you're away on your break, right? You don't want to be thinking,
Absolutely.
oh my God, I've got to get out of here, I'm burning.
Yeah.
You know, and it does that, and it does it really, really well. I was so surprised and so impressed by the cooling power of the unit within a fabric tent. I was blown away. It was great.
Yeah, and I have to say, camping with two sort of early teen girls, it was was really revolutionary for them as well.
So yeah, big tick for the cooling system as well. So far it heats really well and it cools really well. This thing is really impressive.
It is, but it's not without its limitations. I mean, I think for me, one of the things that are slightly a niggle with it is its size. It is absolutely portable. It is absolutely compact by, you know, portable air conditioning unit standards. We have one at home and it's by no means as big as that. However, it's still a pretty chunky monkey. You know, the actual body itself, you're looking at it being around 15 kgs. I think they say it's 15.3 kgs, which isn't too bad, but when you add the separate battery pack on the bottom, that alone is an extra 10 kg. So the two combined, it's a fairly hefty bit of kit, and you certainly don't want to be lugging it from point A to point B. You need to know where that's going to live in your setup and just kind of leave it there.
If you're camping with a van, I think you're probably going to be okay because you should have plenty of room in the back of it. But if you're in a car, maybe camping for a couple of weeks, it's a consideration, right? You can't fit everything in there. But I think they have done a good job in trying to make the, you know, the shape of it quite ergonomic in terms of being able to pack around it. Another consideration is packing the ducts as well, because you've got the exhaust duct and you've got the intake ducts and everything if you need it, depending on how you're setting it up.
Because it's not nothing. It is a sizable bit of kit, and you do need to sort of have a plan for where you're going to house it when you're on site. The other thing to mention is it's not silent when it's running, which for us was kind of fine. Actually, it was sort of a benefit, if I'm completely honest, but I can understand that for some people that might be irritating. Think white noise. So low level white noise is kind of like the ballpark that you're in. It's certainly not loud, it's not clattering, you know, it's completely livable. And actually, when I say it was a benefit to us, I think we found that it just sort of helped to kind of like sort of nullify that kind of hubbub noise that you get on a campsite. As we got used to it, it was kind of like quite therapeutic in a way.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that you can control as well, because at night time you don't need it on full blast, you don't need it on max mode. You can put it on eco mode, which is a lot quieter, and it is quite soothing. It drowns out the sound of the discotheque if you're in France. It's quite nice sometimes. But that leads me nicely onto the app, because all the functionality of this system is controllable on your phone, which is just brilliant. You can control the temperature, you can control the fan speed, you can shut it off after a certain amount of time. It has a pet mode on there. You can see what the temperature is. You can set it to a certain temperature. All the options are on the app, which is just brilliant. You can also check how much water's in the tank, so you can press a button and it will drain for you. You can set up automatic draining, which might kind of, you know, help, you know, mitigate the issues we're having with the pooling as well. So it's all Bluetooth, so you can't be a million miles away and have it running for when you come back to your tent if you've been away. But within a few meters you can control it, so you can be laying in bed, you know, warming yourself up or cooling yourself down if you want to.
I was going to say, you regularly were able to do that, weren't you? We'd be in bed and the girls would be like, oh, I'm a bit hot or I'm a bit cold, and then you were able to just be like, no problem, and then you just dealt with it right off your phone without even getting out of bed.
There's no jumping off the air bed and, you know, whacking someone in the face with your leg or anything. It was really easy and really straightforward.
So what about if your plan is to use it in a camper van rather than the awning?
We tested it in our Volkswagen. We've only got the T6, so it's quite small. I put the exhaust pipe through the pop top. So I think if you're in a pop top van, I think it's probably a good shout.
I think ultimately when you're in a van situation, you already feel like there's quite a lot of, I've got to move that in order to do that, and then because I want to do that now, that means I need to. And so when you've got something that's quite a sort of sizable unit in terms of proportions to the van, you really have to know where that's going to go.
But I would say that, you know, if we, for example, if we were going to do a tour of southern Spain for like 2 to 3 weeks in a Volkswagen pop top, then I probably would take that, because
Yeah.
the cooling power in a van is going to be a lot stronger than what it would be in an awning. And we have done that south of Spain trip in our van without an aircon unit, and it was not fun.
It was
So
pretty punishing.
I think I'd do it again, and I would take that aircon unit, and I think you'd all sleep really well.
Yeah.
EcoFlow, on their website, they say you can cool down up to 8 to 9 degrees. And I think that's probably correct in a van because it's better insulated. And if you can put the exhaust duct through the pop top like we've done on ours, I think you'd be well away. I think you'd get a really good night's sleep actually. And again, I think it would just be that white noise which would take away that hubbub of the campsite around you.
It is just knowing where it's going to go. Once you've figured that out, you're good.
So Karina, are you still skeptical? Does it work?
It absolutely does work. And no, I'm not skeptical. I genuinely was pleasantly surprised on this trip. I really didn't think it was going to be as effective as it was. And it was great. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You know, for all the other things that we've said about it, you cannot take away from the fact that it absolutely does do what it's supposed to do, and it does it well.
Yeah. So all the facts and figures about the EcoFlow Wave system are on our blog, on our website. Go check that out. There's a link in the description below and on the show notes where you can find all that information. But I really hope this has been helpful. Please like and subscribe. It really helps us grow the channel.
So until next time, we're going to leave it there, and we hope you join us again for the next one. Take care.